Okay, good evening and welcome back to Thursday night at Living Word Family Church. This is These Final Days Ministries. I'm Pastor Ryan Speakman, serving under my favorite pastor in the entire world sincerely, Pastor Maureen Collins. Let's hear for our pastor, my pastor. So it's been a few weeks since we last met because I was out of town specifically. You know what? I don't care. Come on up here, guys, right now. Mark and Tom. Just to show your pretty faces, okay? I wish that Ben was here. We hit it so hard over there, so we're back from Israel, a few days in Jordan, but we were over there for 2 weeks. I mean, we were gone for like 15 days, right? So these are my two research assistants, unless they're retired from the job now. Yeah, this is Mark Roach and Tom Fisher. Give them a hand. They really helped me tremendously over there. I really couldn't have accomplished what we accomplished over there without you guys. That's a God honest truth, in every way, shape, and form. So we're going to get into it. But before we start, again, we're back from 2 weeks in the Middle East, Israel and Jordan, heavy duty research. We're going to be talking about that, starting to talk about that tonight. I'll just do a quick. Yeah, Mark doesn't want to be up here. He doesn't want to talk. I just want to ask you, did you have a good time?
I had a wonderful time. It was fantastic.
It was amazing.
Okay. See, they're long-winded like I am. I'm so sorry. Yeah. Hold on. Did you learn anything?
Oh, tons. Yeah. I mean, do you want me to? You want me to do your class?
What you know what? While we're doing class, I really want, and I told you guys this when we were over there. I want you guys to speak up, and I'm going to ask you to comment on stuff. Last question, then you could go sit down because we have a lot of ground to cover. What was the question? Oh, do you dig my Middle East driving skills?
Oh, yeah. You have to have skills, too. You have to have skills to drive over.
Because they have no rules over there.
You have to be about half crazy.
Half crazy, 75%.
Stop signs, traffic lights, they're just suggestions. That's all they are, just suggestions.
And I know you guys missed the Jordanian speed bumps. So in Jordan, true story, we rented a car, drove around for 3 days. I did all the driving, right? And on the freeway where there's no speed limit, I mean, it seems like, right? Like I'd hit a certain speed, my car would start beeping saying, we don't know what the speed limit is, but you're going way too fast. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's a speed bump. And they have this amazing cloaking technology in Jordan where they make the speed bump invisible. You don't see it till you hit it. So what I would do is I would make sure there were cars like way up in front of us. And when I saw them all flying off the road, it's like, okay, now slow down. So anyways.
In the middle of the freeway. In the middle of the freeway. No rhyme, no reason. Just nuts. Just nuts.
Thing I ever seen.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So stay tuned, and we're going to get into all this crazy stuff. Okay, go sit down. Give them a hand, please. Love you guys. I didn't plan to call them up that early, but I got excited. So all right. So we all know we're back in class to learn about the last of the last days. So let's do our verse together. Okay, so here we go. This is Revelation chapter 1, verse 3. Blessed is he who reads and those who hear the words of this prophecy and keep those things which are written in it, for the time is near. So you guys know that almost every time we read this, I have to harp on that last phrase there, for the time is near. And do you guys remember we spent a few months, somebody else here? Maybe close that door, yeah. Thanks, Tom. Still being my assistant over there. Thanks, Tom. So several months talking about the timing of the rapture. That ended up being a much bigger topic than I was expecting. Elijah's going to smirk when I say that because every topic ends up being bigger. But right before we left for Israel, I started a brand new topic, and I think we just did one class just to kind of get the ball rolling. But do you guys remember what the topic was? Remember what it was?
It was Israel, wasn't it?
It wasn't, but here, I'm not going to say it, but we're going to get to it. But it pertains to that last clause there, which is so important, for the time is near, because is it really? It's been 2,000 years, right, since John wrote those words. So before we get into it, though, let's glance at our calendar. Oh, my gosh, Jeremiah's here. Yay. How's it going, man? Oh, and Carlos, too, my two gym buddies. I'm trying to train those guys at the gym. Don't look at them. It just embarrasses me. It's like, oh, is something wrong?
I'm not getting any slides out.
Oh, no. Oh.
You deal with this.
Oh, okay. So Elijah's got to fix the OBS. It's not projecting to the live stream audience. Just hang in there. We'll get it. You know what? Let me say hi to a couple of people. Jackie Stick is watching. Hi, Carolyn Beal. We know her from Virginia. Ronald from Uganda. Wow, welcome. And Devo, Cindy, DeVore, and Glenn. Glad you guys are here and watching. So so tonight, of course, is the 11th, and we're here, right? We're back on a normal schedule, at least for a couple weeks. So no class next week. I am working on part 3 of the book series. Even people over in Israel now are saying, like a couple, right? Am I lying? A couple people said, oh yeah, when's part 3 coming? Yeah. So like even like people in Israel asking, so, oh gosh. So we'll meet again in 2 weeks, and we're going to be talking about the Israel trip for several classes, I promise. And there's a reason. You'll see why. This is not a vacation slideshow. I hope you didn't come just to see pretty pictures. Yeah, that's not what this is about. There will be a little hiccup in our June schedule because I was on the other side of the world for half a month. So now I'm taking my kid and wife on a little long weekend, and that's going to, but stay tuned for the June schedule. I'll tell you next class. So what? Oh, the trip? Research trip, recon. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, like looking into the, we learned stuff that nobody else is talking about. I mean, we really did, exactly. So interested in the ministry, my book series, best-selling book series, thesefinaldays.org. While you're there, if the Holy Spirit moves you, and if he doesn't, just don't. You take the money and do something else with it. But if he moves on your heart, donations are greatly appreciated. That's what is driving all the great success in this ministry, and we're accomplishing some cool stuff. 100% of what you donate goes directly in the ministry. I make my living as a software engineer, so whatever you donate, it's for These Final Days ministry. So if you think we're in the last days and you're part of this, then just listen to the Holy Spirit. Okay, makes a big difference, really does. Okay, so tonight's topic is our recent research expedition. So we'll be getting into this. So what again? So we're not going to be doing. I've only had a few days to really prepare for this, but the Holy Spirit, he speaks fast if he needs to, right? Even when you're jet lagged and trying to catch up on work, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the direction I've gotten for this trip. Okay. A lot of people donated money to send us over to Israel, not to have a nice vacation, although we had a lot of fun, right? Not to eat, great food, although there's great food. And for those of you who missed it, I brought back real baklava from the old city of Jerusalem. So I could not get Mark and Tom to try some, so their share is over here. You can have theirs. So help yourselves. Come on up, and there's coffee and all that stuff. Don't be shy. Look at Carlos. He's setting the example. Look at Jeremiah. Yeah, these guys need calories to keep those muscles inflated. So we're going to be talking a lot about the trip, but I'm not going to be wasting your time with like the fun stuff and us sitting on the beach. Yes, we did sit on the beach one day. Long story. Maybe we'll show one picture. But the reason you guys sent us there is to do hardcore research, and I really did a big build up before the trip. I prepared more for this trip than I have the 3 previous trips to the Holy Land combined. True story. And I knew that this trip would be more fruitful. I just sensed it. Research-wise than all 3 previous trips combined. So this is my 4th research trip. This was their first time over there, right? And honestly, off the charts. I mean, we've established new relationships. We've expanded existing relationships like I couldn't have imagined. And we've stumbled across 1 or 2 major opportunities there that just scream what I think we already knew, which is God has called this ministry, this little ministry, These Final Days Ministries, to be part of one specific aspect of preparing for the rebuilding of the Holy Temple that Jesus himself will sit in one day. But only Gentiles can do it, and no one else is doing it. No one else has ever done it, but we've already got our hands in it. We have been working on this for a few years. And what am I talking about? Thank you. I thought, man, if I hear crickets, I'm just going to hide behind the, yes, good job, everybody. The incense. So Tom, Mark, was it insane? Like all the coincidences? It's not coincidences that came together to present a phenomenal opportunity, a whole new angle on the whole incense thing, and it all ties together. We'll get to that later. Meantime, so this is the context that I will be presenting our trip, and it's going to take more than one class. You'll see. You guys know me anyways. This is the series I started right before we left for Israel, not even thinking in these terms. Are we really living in the last of the last days? You guys know that since I was 10 years old, I've been convinced of that, and I've never doubted it one day. Every day that goes by, the last 45 years, I'm more convinced of it. I think all of you here are either convinced of that fact or you strongly suspect it. Either way, but the purpose of the new series was and is to establish the reason that I say that and think that, all of the reasons that I'm convinced that we are in the last of the last days. It's statistically impossible, all the signs, all the conditions, everything coming together. But this is the context in which we're going to be discussing this trip. Isn't that cool? So that's what we're going to be talking about. Are we really in the last of the last days? So with that, let's get into it. So here we go. This actually was not day one. So day one of being in Israel, the very first thing we did, 7:30 in the morning, we had to be in line at the Temple Mount. This picture I think we took a week later, but it's such a cool picture I had to include it here. So we started our expedition with the Temple Mount. Very good place to start, very pertinent, right? And that's what we're going to start the class with here. Okay, so you guys know that. Let me get my laser pointer going here. So you guys know that the Temple Mount, that's this gigantic structure behind us. It's 37 acres. That this is really central to my entire ministry and teaching, which it has. I shouldn't even put it in those terms. This is central to the end time story. Okay, so there is one particular component of the end time story that is core and key and central. It's a physical thing, and it's smack dab in the epicenter of end times prophecy. And what is that? Say it again. The Holy Temple. Yeah, these guys got it right. In fact, I went ahead and put up our timeline tonight just because I want this to always be in front of us, and I always want to be able to reference it. So the reason that the Temple Mount is so important to the end time story, and I'm sorry this is so wrinkled. Can anyone guess why the banner is so wrinkled tonight? Because Ben's not here. That's all. I tried. I could not get this thing straight. So come back in 2 weeks, and oh my gosh, Destiny's here! Yay! Come back in 2 weeks, and the scroll will be straighter. Sorry about that. You can access this online too. Go to thesefinaldays.org. Click on the Revelation timeline link at the top, and you can see this whole thing there. So, but anyways, look at this. Right in the middle of the timeline of the end time story is the Holy Temple, and I didn't even do this on purpose. It just kind of like ended up there. It's exactly this event that takes place here takes place exactly halfway through the 7-year Great Tribulation. So it kind of makes sense that it would be right in the middle of our scroll, right? And this is the holy Jewish temple. It's really not a Jewish temple. It's a house of prayer for all nations is what the Bible calls it. And our Jewish friends, in fact, call it the same thing. The rabbis that we met with over there who are working to bring about the third temple, okay? They refer to it, likewise, right? But this is a physical structure that once stood on the Temple Mount. And in fact, there were 2 versions of it, really 3 versions of it, all of them standing in precisely the same spot on this gigantic platform that you see behind us in the picture here. And there will be a third structure, a third temple built in the context of the end time story. In fact, we can very accurately say that when you see construction begin on this, or at least the agreement to start construction, you are right around the very beginning of the 7-year Great Tribulation. So this is key. So a big question would be, concerning this idea, hey, are we really living in the last of the last days? I would say, start with this. This is the one component we could look at that more than any other indicates that we're in the last of the last days. Okay. So how close are we to seeing the third temple built? Right? How close are we to seeing the structure built? Just huge part of our research, right? What's this? This is on the southern end of the Temple Mount. Okay, so it goes south to north. What is that? The Al-Aqsa Mosque. Very, very good. And what's this gold dome structure here? That's called the Dome of the Rock. And is that related to any particular religion? Islam. Yeah, very good. Okay. This over here that looks like it might be like a church spire. That's actually a minaret. There's 4 of them on the. So you have and here's another minaret, Muslim minaret. And if you look real closely, you might notice like speakers up here. This is where they do the Muslim call to prayer five times a day. So this entire 37-acre structure today is 100% Islamic in terms of the architecture, et cetera, et cetera. And it's been that way for how long? Who said that?
1400?
Yeah, very good. Boy, you were paying attention on this trip. Wow, look at you. Yeah, you guys did good. No, not at all.
It surprises me that it's still there after 1967. They didn't want to put a Vatican up there.
Yeah, Mark made a very big stink about this on our first day there about, how come the temple's not there? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So here's the thing though. So 1400 years, these Muslim structures, Islam has dominated the Temple Mount. Before that, it's been 2,000 years since the second Holy Temple, Jewish temple, was destroyed. Okay, again, there has to be a third one for the end time story to take place. We know from go ahead.
I was just going to ask you to elaborate on that.
Okay, which part?
Why is the temple necessary for the...
Yes, perfect question. So we know that, and I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts of the teaching here because I've done it so much over the years, right? But you could talk to me after class or whatever if you want more information. We know from Daniel chapter 9, verse 27. We know from Daniel chapter 11. We know from Zechariah chapter 14. We know from pretty much the whole book of Isaiah, whole bunch of Old Testament stuff when it talks about end times prophecy. Boom, there's the temple. We know from Matthew chapter 24, Jesus describes it. We know from Mark chapter 13, Luke chapter 21, the book of Ezekiel. Thank you for sure. We know from 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, the Apostle Paul specifically says when you see the Antichrist sitting in the temple showing himself to be God, there's a temple. We know from the book of Revelation, Revelation chapter 11, God sends an angel, measure the temple and the altar and those who worship there. So throughout the entire Bible, Old Testament and New, wherever it gets into end times prophecy, and by the way, there's a lot of prophecy in the Old Testament about the first coming of Jesus. There's 5 times as much prophecy about the second coming of Jesus. So don't just look at the book of Revelation if you want to understand the end time story. It all begins, with the Old Testament. All of it across the board describes a third Jewish temple. Well, and it doesn't use that terminology. I want to be clear. You will not find the term third temple anywhere in the Bible. We know that the second temple was destroyed, though, again, 2,000 years ago. Okay, Jesus said it would be AD 70. It was destroyed, right? So for the end time story to include a temple, what does that automatically mean? That a third temple will be built, right? Okay, so here's the thing. Can anyone tell me where Solomon's temple stood, King Herod's temple stood? Zerubbabel is actually the one who built the second temple. Then King Herod came along several centuries later and revamped the whole thing just in time for Jesus to show up and do his ministry, right? Anybody want to tell me where the Holy Temple stood? And I know that there's conjecture about this or a little bit debate in our class here. Yeah, exactly, right here. Okay, we're going to talk about that quite a bit tonight in next class too, I'm sure. So this is called the Dome of the Rock. In Arabic, it's Al-Sahra. Because this dome is positioned precisely over a rock, and I mean a huge rock, like I think our biggest crane, if the rock was only 3 feet tall sitting on this platform, the biggest crane humans have maybe couldn't even lift it. It's huge, okay? But that's not what it is. It's the top of a mountain called Mount Moriah. We know that mountain from Scripture. That's where God instructed King David to build his altar, to build his house, okay? But that's directly below this dome. In Hebrew, it's called Even Hashtia, and in English, we call it, this is all just set up for our research, but we need a little background here. We call it come on, Samin. No, what's the rock called? The stone. The foundation stone, yes, very good. Okay, so this is where the 2 holy temples stood. Last one was destroyed 2,000 years ago. About 600 years after that, in the year 691 AD, to be precise, this structure was built. It's the oldest Muslim structure on earth. A few years later, in 705, they built the mosque, right? But all this time, 2,000 years. I mean, do you know that most of that time, what's this down here? Guys who are over there with me, what is this plaza here? Yeah, this is the Western Wall down here. Okay, and this is called...
The Western Wall, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So it's called the Western Wall Plaza, or the Kotel, they call it, okay. And up until 1967, The Western Wall was maybe about 12 feet deep, if that. I mean, it was a really small little alleyway, and it had been like that for many, many centuries. But it's no longer like that. Now it's this huge plaza and just very, very well developed and everything, right? But think about this. So again, this question: are we living in the last of the last days? 2,000 years ago, the Romans come in, they destroy Jerusalem, they destroy the Holy Temple, they kick the Jews out. Those who they didn't kill, they killed about 1 million Jews in that event in AD 70. And the Jews were scattered to the wind, man. I mean, they spread around the whole Middle East, the whole world. That's called the diaspora. And it's impossible. I mean, how do you have this people who are so persecuted for 2,000 years? For much of this time, they were not allowed to live anywhere near Jerusalem. Sometimes, if whoever was the ruling power at the time, the Romans, Western Romans, Byzantine, not the Western Romans, but the Byzantine, the Crusaders, the Muslims, maybe once a year on Tisha B'Av, it's called the 9th of Av, which commemorates the destruction of the two temples, the Jews will be allowed to come down here and pray, right? But how do you go from that to all of a sudden now these are all Jewish people down here? This is called the Jewish Quarter, the Rova, okay? The Jews control security right here. So 1948, we know that the Jews came back, well, they reestablished their nation. Go ahead, Kurt.
I'm assuming you're taking that more from the southwest corner of the Temple Mount. I don't know how far back you are from it.
Yeah.
Would the city of David be more to the right?
It is. The southwest corner of the Temple Mount is just about here because the mosque sits on the southern end, so it's right there. So the city of David is like, down here. So anyways, you know what? I could go on, but you get the point, right? It's miraculous that, I mean, literally miraculous. The Bible even says in the Old Testament, Ezekiel, in the book of Ezekiel, when has a nation ever ceased to exist and then come back to life again? Like, has it ever happened in history, especially after 2,000 years? The answer is no. It's impossible, okay? But this has happened. As Mark points out, though, this is all still Muslim up here. Why is this still here? Why is the third temple not built yet? Because the Jews recaptured the Temple Mount on June 7th, 1967. So that was 55 years ago, okay? And that's easy for me to figure because I was born like 3 months later. I'm 55. Hey, senior discount at the movie theater. Woohoo! But these are all questions we'll get into and everything. So let me go ahead and play our first video, and we'll kind of get the ball rolling on our research, okay? So again, what's our research? Are we really living in the last days? Before I do, though, I do want to mention next Thursday, because we won't be here, I encourage you, this is a gentleman that we met with over there. I've been trying for years to get an interview with him. Finally got one. The guys are with me. Amazing gentleman, isn't he? Rabbi Glick. So sweet, very, very loving. And this guy's like, so for real, he's run for president. He's actually spoken before Congress over here, spoken before the UN. He got shot 4 times by a Palestinian assassin a couple decades ago, right, because of his activism for the temple. But now he started this thing called the Global Zionist Movement. Please go to globalzionism.com, and next Thursday, a week from today, they're doing a live stream for a few hours online. I think it starts at like 9 a.m. our time, so it's easy. But just go here, and I did today, I RSVP'd. But take a look. We'll be talking about him. We'll be showing you some of our interview with him. But this is one of the new relationships we've established, and I want to stay close to Rabbi Glick and work with him because this guy, for decades, he is literally the most famous Third Temple activist on earth. Okay, the most well-known. He served in the Knesset there, which is their, like our U.S. Congress, that's their equivalent, right? Very, very real guy. And actually, back to this picture, look, we're wearing our Global Zionist pins right here, and we did not wear those into Jordan. Let me just make that clear. Yeah. So, all right, let's get into it. Here we go. So, PowerPoint's kind of acting up, so I'm gonna do something different here. So this is our first day there. We got there at like 7:15 in the morning. And this is the line to get into the Temple Mount. And usually this line is like half a mile long, and it takes hours to get up there. There was nobody there. We were like the first ones there. So really blessed with that. But I want to show you a little intro video to our day on the Temple Mount, okay? But to do this, hold on. Oh, why am I using the pointer on the screen? It's been a few weeks. Bear with me. Let's see what we're going to do here. Okay. Oh, good. That worked. Now, if I can just start it. All right. Everybody ready? Our first video. Oh, one caveat. First morning there, major jet lag, didn't get enough sleep. So I say a couple stupid things, but you'll forgive me. No, listen, like more than usual. So bear with me. Okay, here we go. Oh, are you serious? Oh, what are you doing? Okay, let me try this then. Hold on. Technology. Here, let's just try from here. See if it works. This is gonna work. Oh yeah, how do you turn it off? Everybody bear with me, sorry. The same way I turned on, of course. Okay, laser pointer off. Here we go, yay, thanks Elijah. And now that's not working, hold on. Aaron's better looking. Stick. We're actually waiting for our guide, me, and I just texted him, let him know that we're early. But we're getting ready to go onto the Mughrabi ramp, which will take us onto the Temple Mount. This is the only way that non-Muslims are allowed to go onto the Temple Mount. Usually I'm in line for like 2 hours, so this is great. We're going to be able to go right up. This is the, we're at the southwest corner of the Temple Mount. The Temple Mount here, probably about 70, maybe down below you see a bunch of piles of rocks. This is called the Southern Wall Archaeological Site, and they just started excavating this in 1967 after the Jews took back the city of Jerusalem earlier. So in the beginning of Matthew chapter 24, which is Jesus' great end times dissertation, right? His disciples, the way the whole thing starts, his disciples say, to Jesus, "Hey, look at all these beautiful temples up on the Temple Mount." And Jesus says, "Do you see all these buildings? I tell you the truth, not one stone will be left here upon another that shall not be thrown down." And literally, those the stones, you're looking at and see the piles of boulders at the base of the wall. So this is, and archaeologists, I mean, there's no debating this. This is the remains of the temple complex thrown down by the Romans in AD 70 when they destroyed the Second Temple. So that was about 35 years, 37 years after Jesus spoke those words. He prophesied it, and there's the proof. It, definitely came true. This is called the. If we have time, we're going to go down here, but this is called the Huldah Gates, Huldah Steps on the southern wall, and this was actually the main entrance for the common people during the time of the first and second temples. And do you guys see this? This like abutment sticking out the wall, like straight in front of us. You see, it's like a ledge sticking out, like right in front of us, right? So that's the remains of what's called Robinson's Arch, named after an archaeologist who discovered it in the 1800s. And it was a really fancy arch that connected to kind of to where we're standing right now, kind of like cut out to the south a little bit. But this was the main entrance, they think, for the priests. Hell today up here, the Jewish quarter behind us, the Rova, was the priestly quarter during the time of the Second Temple. Go in and out of the temple. Pretty cool, huh? And there's the mosque up on top, Al-Aqsa Mosque, built in AD 705. So, you know what? Ami's going to tell you guys all this stuff, and he'll do way better than I do. So he's an actual tour guide. So okay, yeah, good. I'm happy.
Well,
oh gosh, no, we're not done yet. One other thing.
Do I need to turn it back on?
If you want to. He's show Connie all this stuff. Okay, that's cool. So one other thing I want to mention. So down here in this pile, and it wasn't long ago. It was maybe 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. They discovered a special stone down there with an engraving on something along the lines of the place where the trumpeter stands. So what that means is that back in the days of the Second Temple, right up here on the corner of the Temple Mount, apparently there was a special rock where the guy with the trumpet, probably a nice big silver trumpet, probably could have been a shofar. Could have been a shofar. Would go and stand on the corner of the Temple Mount, and he'd blow the horn, and that was so isn't that cool? But it's right down there. The place where the trumpeter stands. So, hey, Bob, you can turn it off now. So I'm going to comment on a friend of. So one thing that I was able to accomplish on this trip that I never could have done without the guys because they like chipped in. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, seriously, like all these years, absolutely my dream trip. I mean, all the research I've ever wanted to do, all the people I've ever wanted to hire. I didn't have specific people in mind. This is our first one. But I knew that there must be like experts in town, and by now I've got like enough connections over there. I can talk to my connections, right, guys? Me and my connections, name dropping. I could talk to my connections, and they know people who know people. So, and everybody in Jerusalem, like the top people in these fields, they all know each other, right? So this time we were able to hire to guide us, to give their expert insight. Like everything we did in Jerusalem, we hired guides. And it wasn't super cheap, so thanks again for chipping in, guys. Right? But just amazing, and more than that, we've actually like kind of established relationships with these guys, which I'm going to pursue. So this is the first gentleman. His name is Ami Meitav, and his accent's thick, and he talks like real quiet, and it's very noisy. And Ben and I were still kind of working out, how best to like pick up audio. I say this every trip. Next time we're going to do lav mics, and I forget like every trip, right? Next trip we're going to do lav mics, meaning like mic up our the people that we're with. But what I'm going to do is, and don't get annoyed, please. The purpose of this is to teach. Okay, I want to convey to you guys what we learned over there. So I'm going to play some video. I'm going to pause it and make sure you understood what he said. Maybe comment a little bit. So is that cool? Because I don't want to just run through this like, oh, that's kind of I want you to learn from this. Go ahead, Sharon. Did you say artwork right there?
Yeah, down at the bottom of the window.
That's not art.
It looks
Oh.
like artwork.
That's not artwork. That's people down there.
That's people.
That's people. That's the Western Wall. That's the Western Wall. So I'll explain what this is real quickly here. So again, this is Ami Meitav is his name. Very famous guy. Recommended. So Noam recommended the top Western Wall guy, City of David guy, and then he recommended this guy. And when we name dropped Ami's name, even to like Rabbi Glick, he's like, "Oh yeah, I know Ami." They all know each other. But so what's special about him is that he's not an archaeologist. He was this is insane. He was the head of security on the Temple Mount for years, right? Captain Ami. Okay. So all the police up there know him. He's got the inside track on everything. It also has given him like a really interesting perspective on the Temple Mount. But again, what we're looking for here is this progression, like where we are today compared to what it's taken to get here over the last 2,000 years. Just in the last century, the Jews becoming a nation again, and then a couple decades later recapturing the old city and the Temple Mount. And is this all headed very rapidly now toward a third temple? Okay, so I want you to be like listening to what this gentleman says and be paying attention to clues about that. So first of all, what's this awful structure that we're standing on here? It just looks terrible, doesn't it? I'll show it to you here real quick. So this is called the Mughrabi ramp, okay? And Mughrabi means Moroccan, because when the Israelis captured the old city and the Temple Mount, recaptured on June 7, 1967, this was a neighborhood, and it was the Moroccan neighborhood, and the other word is Mughrabi. Okay, that's the name of the ramp. Why? The Jews, they got a lot of money. They're very serious about Jerusalem. They have pumped hundreds of millions of dollars just into this whole complex here. So why the crummy wooden ramp that's made of like 2x4s, right? Well, one thought, and Ami actually offers another one, and he's right, but one thought is that the Jews are not going to do anything that's going to acknowledge this stupid thing as permanent, okay? There are 12 gates. I say 7 in the video because I was tired, jet lag. But there are 12 gates onto the Temple Mount. The Muslims get to use 11 of them. Jews and Christians can only use this one, okay? So we're right down by what's called the Dung Gate. I mean, the whole thing's just very insulting. They really need to change the name of that gate, the Dung Gate, yeah. But so everything is political in Jerusalem, all right? But we're standing there, and then again, the Western Wall is right down here behind us. So let me go back to the video. Okay, so you can see that. So we're up on this awful ramp. Here's the Western Wall down here. These are Jewish men who are praying. The women's section is underneath us here. They're Orthodox, so the women and men don't pray together. And then you have this big Israeli flag draped down, right? But, pretty cool. So here we go, ready for Ami. And again, his accent is thick, but let's see how it goes here. Oop, hold on. See if I can get this playing. Appreciate everyone's patience with our technology tonight. Patience. Here we go. Okay. So real quickly, what I want to say, I'm not having trouble understanding him, hearing him.
Oh, did he say something?
He did. Again, his voice is kind of quiet, audio issues, and then his accent's very, very thick. But so the very first thing that he starts to talk to us about here is hold on, laser pointer. And this is a point. Now he's an Orthodox Jew. He identifies himself as full Orthodox. He says he won't wear his kippah up on the Temple Mount because, again, head of security. He knows that not only causes trouble up there, but it prevents you from going places up there that he goes. Okay, but the point that he's making as an Orthodox Jew, most Orthodox Jews in Jerusalem, Israel, and around the world today would not say the words that are coming out of this guy's mouth. So, I love this guy, right off the bat, right? Because his first point, what he said, look, what you're looking at down here, it was the street. It was the Tyropoeon Valley Street. Most Jews today say that the Western Wall is their holiest site. This is the base of a retaining wall. That's all it is. This is nowhere near their temple. Their temple was way up here on the Temple Mount, where the Dome of the Rock is now standing. Okay, and that's what he says. He says they're down here praying to this wall, and what Jews are supposed to pray toward is the rock. And he doesn't even say the temple. He says the rock because he knows the temple's not there right now. He did comment, you probably didn't understand him, that they're not building the third temple right now, that it's just politically impossible, wrong climate. It is not going to happen right now. This is all such a setup for the Antichrist. Oh my gosh. You guys know what I mean by that, I think. So let me keep playing and let's see what else this gentleman has to say. But you get the point. So he's acknowledging this is the base of a retaining wall. This is not what Judaism is about. They need their third temple. It's coming. Okay? We are close. Here we go. So the irony he's pointing out is that this is called the Western Wall, but it's also known as the Wailing Wall because Jews for centuries would be down there and they'd be crying and beating their chests. And what is it that they're crying for? The temple. They want their temple back. Now the reason that for, after 2,000 years of this situation, that it's just kind of like ingrained in the Jewish people that this is their holiest site is because for 2,000 years, this was as close as they could get to where the temple stood, okay, where the Holy of Holies is or will be again. But that's just not the case anymore. They've got the Temple Mount back. It's like, what are they waiting for? 55 years we've been waiting, but circumstances are changing rapidly up there. Let's keep watching. Let me know if you have any questions too as I go. I know I talk fast. But everybody good? Okay, let's keep going.
He's fascinating.
This way, the ramp of the Mughal gate is only today they enter for the Jewish, for the tourism. All the other gate, we can get out, cannot get out from here, and the Muslim cannot come from here. The Muslim in another gates.
Yes. There's like seven gates, 7 entries. This is the only one that we can go because we're not And I was making the point here that I mentioned earlier that the Temple Mount has 12 gates. The Muslims have access to all of them. The Jews have to enter through this one here. And this is insane. The Jews control this thing. They took this back. It's a spoil of war in 1967, but they have to go up this goofy ramp, and they're not allowed to enter new, and neither are we as Christians, right? We can exit out of a couple of the gates up there, but you have to enter through here, special security and all that. Gentlemen, before you arrive, that the reason that you guys haven't built like this nice, beautiful ramp here, it's close to the temporary, because it's a statement, right, saying we're not settling for this is temporary, right?
Because this is the only way. Actually, the enter was like down in the ramp, but the ramp destroyed by the snow in 2004. I was in those times.
Go, have a good time. We'll see you in 10 minutes. Oh, assuming it'll play.
What are those for? See all the satellite dishes up on top?
They're like literally TV antennas and Wi-Fi. Those are houses. That's residential houses, Jewish. So, yeah, I stayed in one of those houses back in 2014 with Dr. Baki. Yeah, let me see if I can get this to play here. Hold on. Go, have a good time. We'll see you in 10 minutes. And they'll miss it. It's the watch. So how soon? Next year?
Someone that want to build a beautiful build, it's mean that they want to build also inside something. So don't do it.
Because too, so the Muslims are going to throw a fit. You guys are doing like full-on inside. I made the point that the Jews don't want to convey that this is a permanent situation. That'd be like a surrender. So that's why they have this, goofy wooden ramp. If they put something permanent, it's saying, okay, we're cool with this situation, right? But Ami is making the point, and again, head of security on the Temple Mount, I get that this would be like, foremost on his mind, that anything that the Jews do construction-wise, the Muslims accuse them of trying to destroy the mosque. That's an ongoing thing, and then there's riots, and it just gets very, very messy. Okay.
Even you want to fix the toilet, everything is.
But we have to look at this as temporary because we're looking at the third temple to be built one day. So how soon? Next year? Year after? Call us, hey guys, they're starting.
Call you, get by, take a plane,
get on the plane.
I would do that.
What are your thoughts, though? I mean, what are you?
I said, when's it coming? This year, next year? And he said, I'll get back to you about that. And he says, when they start building it, I'll call you. You can get on a plane and come over here. How many times have I said that? When it's right? Did you hear him say that? So when they, we're going to get a personal call from me. We'll get on the plane, the whole class. Okay. Yep. Tom's buying, right? Okay. So, okay. So this experience up on the Temple Mount, I've been up there quite a bit myself, and I have my own, shtick that I do up there. But there are three things. It's been 6 years since I was up there last, my last trip there, and there are three major developments since I was there that tell me that just in the last 6 years we are that much closer to a Jewish temple being rebuilt on the Temple Mount. And here's the first one. See if you can catch it. Okay, here's number one. It's so fascinating.
What are your thoughts on the Abraham Accords and progression of?
You guys want to get on top of it? Okay. My new favorite student in the class because he just asked about the Abraham Accords. A+ for Mark. Yeah, you got points for that, man. Yeah. Except me, I was so anxious I wouldn't let me answer him until we got on the Temple Mount. But then he answered him. So yeah, let's get up there. But watch this. Here, watch this. Number one coming up. Okay.
I'll do that because that's a fantastic. But the police, he's on the police. It's so important to understand. We are the authority. You are going to discuss about it. You cannot find a Jordan policeman. No one. All the people that look like police are not police. The one. Yeah.
I don't know if you caught what he said, but this is huge. Okay, so ever since 1967, when Moshe Dayan, the commander in chief of the armed forces, decided to give back the Dome of the Rock, let the Muslims stay in control of the Temple Mount, it has been being administered by an organization called the Waqf, which is actually run by the nation of Jordan, of all things. It's really bizarre. And we actually met with a guy from the Waqf while we were over there. That's part of our research. More on that later. But every time I've been up on the Temple Mount until this time, you see Waqf policemen everywhere, okay? And they're bullies. And they've given me a hard time up there. Last time I was up there, I was doing my usual thing. I'm filming, and this Waqf policeman comes up. You can't film up here. He didn't threaten to confiscate the camera, but he was, kind of mean anyways. But this time, what Ami is pointing out, there's no Waqf policeman anywhere. For 50 years, those guys were running the show up on the Temple Mount. What Ami just said is, this is all Israeli policemen. That's all you're going to see up here. Very interesting. Huge development. Okay, this is showing a shift in the balance of power on the Temple Mount, and it's not a small thing. Go ahead, Kurt.
Isn't that due to the recent riots that they had right before you guys went over there, or?
It's actually a process that has been going on for about 5 years now, where the IDF and Ami, he's been spearheading this thing. Okay, he was telling us about it. A lot of this we didn't get on camera, but he helped to spearhead this whole process, which is squeezing the Waqf out, these Jordanian police, and the IDF now is running the whole show up there. And there were major riots during Ramadan this year, which ended like 3 days before we got there. You're welcome, Connie. It was bad. There were like just a couple days before we got to Israel, there were literally tens of thousands of Muslims up on the Temple Mount rioting. I'm not saying they all do this, but the ones that were up there were. And one guy was flying a Hezbollah flag up there. Hamas is up there doing their thing. A lot of violence. But of course, while we were there, then people started firing rockets, and last I heard, there's been like 1,000 rockets fired into Israel from Gaza. So, but look, I brought him home before it got really bad. So yes, there were a few rockets while we were there. There's nothing. Standard operating procedure. So that's number one. This is huge. The Israeli police now, they're running the whole show up on the Temple Mount. Unheard of. Okay, let's keep watching. Yeah, exactly. So are you going to behave now? Okay, bear with me, everybody, please. go. Have a good time. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Temple and then
Policemen. No one. All the people that look like police in Baghdad, it's the one. One. Yeah. Wow. الحمد لله بدنا نعيش.
Wow. So, you know what? I mean, actually, would you mind go ahead and I just want to get after. I'm sorry. I'm like so anxious. Could you go answer Mark's question? Because I'm very curious about that too. Like, what are your thoughts on the Abraham Accords? And Mark.
I get the question. Maybe I didn't understand.
Yeah, ask him your question again. That's such a great. Please.
with the Abraham Accords,
What do you mean Abraham Accord?
what Trump and
Yes. Okay.
his son-in-law
Jared Kushner.
Jared Kushner started.
Yes.
And
the agreement, the peace agreement.
Yeah, yeah. How do you think that progresses the temple rebuild, the timing, and all that?
The temple we are not going to rebuild until the Jesus or the Mahdi or the Messiah will be. Yeah.
Well, are you saying that the Mashiach will be back first and then the temple, or the temple and then?
Possible to change the situation. The need is a balance.
Not just, what do you think about the Abraham Accords, but specifically, Mark asked him, do you think that those, pertain at all to the rebuilding of the Jewish temple, the third temple? Great question. But Ami's answer is super fascinating, and it's what I've been teaching this class for a long time, that the Jewish perspective is that only the Mashiach can build the third temple. Okay, the Temple Institute doesn't agree with that. They have this saying, "Build it, and he will come." Okay. That's very, pertinent. We'll talk more about that later. But did anyone catch when he said that about who's going to build the temple? This blew my mind. This is an Orthodox Jew, head of security on the Temple Mount. He said Jesus or the Mahdi or the Mashiach. So Jesus is the Christian Messiah, right? The Mahdi is the Muslim Messiah, and then Mashiach is the Jewish Messiah. So, and it's funny because he's kind of serious when he says that, like he just doesn't know. Okay. But I thought about this even as he was saying it. And, this is it's just very unclear to the Jewish people, where's the temple going to come from? Who's going to build it? It leaves a huge open door for all sorts of situations, all sorts of people to come in. What I'm getting at is this whole situation is so primed and ready for the Antichrist. Who's going to build the third temple? We don't know. It's going to be someone who's messianic, whatever. And it just blows my mind. Just describes the Antichrist perfectly. So, are you guys tracking with me? Okay. And hi to Pastor Jay, who's watching from South Africa, and Pastor Joel watching from Kenya. Miss you guys. Okay, so here we go. Let's keep going. Yes, sir. Please.
So, have you ever been just told and asked somebody like that, kind of relate your perspective on who is going to be the one that builds it? Have you ever gotten a reaction from somebody in the Orthodox Jewish community to the idea that they're going to kind of fall for the wrong guy?
So that's a fantastic question, and I'm always chomping at the bit to go that far. I've actually had that conversation with Rabbi Isaac Jarrett here in town. Now I had just met Ami, and I'm always hesitant because I don't want to close the door. Now they're not going to talk to us. They're mad or whatever. The coolest thing, though, I'm so glad you asked that. And of course we didn't get on film. Our very last night in Israel, we had the very great pleasure of having Shabbat dinner at David Badin's house. So David Badin is the director, founder of the Center for Near East Policy Research. We're going to be working with him too. I'm setting up a meeting with our representative Paul Gosar, U.S. Congress, right? We're going to be setting up a meeting and start to help David with his endeavors. Anyways, his wife Sarah, she just made this beautiful Shabbat dinner for us, and I just loved. I mentioned on Sunday that was one of my two favorite moments of the whole trip. One was the baptism in Jordan River, Mark's idea, but the second one was that. So I'm sitting at the end of the Shabbat table. The candles are going. We just got back from synagogue. Just beautiful little town, Efrat, just so idyllic, very green. And I've got, my Jewish family on this side of the table, my Christian brothers on this side, and just having a great conversation. Sarah, I've known her for years, and for the first time, she started asking me questions like what do I teach and why do I believe that? Guys, how far did I go with it? I mean, I went all the way, and she kept asking questions. So she was actually the first. She was genuinely interested. And you know what? I've talked to Noam about this, okay, but other than him, his mom, that's his mom, is the first, Orthodox Jew in Israel who I've had this conversation with. It didn't shut her down. I think she was really fascinating. Sarah Bedin is David's wife. Yeah, exactly. So that was cool. And maybe next time I go, that's going to make me even more bold to have this conversation. I think I need to, Elijah. Like next time I go over, start talking to the connections we have over there and, see what they think. And not to mention, heads up, by the way. Oh, you know how it came about? Because we took their son Noam into Jordan with us for 3 days. David was very concerned, very upset. Why are you taking my kid in there? It's so tricky, if you're an Israeli Jew getting into Jordan. When we first got to the border, we're trying to go through. Everything seems to be going smoothly. We almost thought we were through, and then they said, "Oh, wait, you didn't finish the process. Go back." So, but they came out and they said, "Hey, so we got 4 Americans and then Noam, Israeli Jew." And he said, "Hey, by the way, you guys are fine, but if you're an Israeli Jew, you cannot be in Jordan without a full-time guide. Okay, so chaperone. You have to have a Jordanian citizen like shadowing you the entire time, which would be extremely expensive, right? So what I do, guys, I turn on the charm. I played the pastor card. Hey, I'm a Christian pastor. 4 Christians. I'm leading this group. I said, I'm his guide. Wasn't I like that bold? I said, I'm his guide. I'm the guide on this trip." And they actually backed down and they said, "Listen, wait a few minutes here." They said, "Give us 10 minutes. This guy shows up from Aqaba, the closest town, and he's got this paper called, do you remember the name of the paper? The Manifest. Sounds real official. And it's just a piece of like this form. And he said, "Give me $100. I'll give you the manifest and you're the official tour guide." So, but that said, that wasn't all there was to it. Noam, he's a full Orthodox Jew and he's serious about it. He will not go anywhere without his talit, his prayer shawl. And I always forget that. Oh, tefillin, right? Huh?
Oh, I heard about this. Go ahead.
Yeah, and Ben told you. And his tefillin, like the thing that they wrap around their arms, right? Because he's serious about his religion. He's what the Bible calls a real Jew. The book of Revelation, when it talks about, they're not real Jews. Noam is a real Jew. He loves God. He's serious about honoring the old covenant, right? So Noam is basically like, hey, if they don't let me go with, it's against the law to bring a talit or tefillin into the nation of Jordan. That's how bad relations are. Do you know the reason they give? The Temple Mount. It's always the Temple Mount, the strife over the Temple Mount of all things, right? So before we went through all this rigmarole, we stopped outside of the border before we went in, opened the trunk, give me your talit, give me your tefillin, opened my luggage, rolled them all up in my jeans and my T-shirts, made a big mess, stuffed them in there. And what I was counting on, remember I told you guys, these are bureaucrats. They're tired. They're bored. They just want to go home. They're not going to search our luggage. We got them in. Isn't that cool? so he's doing his whole thing, like in Petra, the prayer shawl and stuff. I mean, he's kind of hiding. I think he did it in the Bedouin family's house, right? But that's how this conversation came up with his mom, because they wanted to know, what's so important about Petra. So that opened the door for me to say, look, in what I teach, during the last half of this period we call the Great Tribulation, the Jews from Judea and around Jerusalem, which includes them, Efrat, will be hiding out in southern Jordan. Then she wanted to hear more. So anyways, how'd I get off on that? All right. I love it. And these conversations are starting, and it's good because it's the Holy Spirit. Because, like Jesus said to his disciples, the Holy Spirit is with you, but he will be in you. So those of the old covenant who are real, the Holy Spirit is with them. He's in us. Okay, that's the new covenant. There is a difference, but that doesn't mean that they're without the Holy Spirit. So these are doors being open, I think, just to get us all ready for the last days, because they're soon upon us. Go ahead.
I have a little question. Since our wonderful congressman is going to be involved with David.
That's our plan. We haven't even contacted his office yet. I'm going to, or
He'll be ready
Tom
for it,
will.
Trust me, he's been working on some stuff.
That's what Tom was telling me. He loves Israel, and yeah,
And
so.
I think that would be positively marvelous because I was thinking with his mother,
Yeah,
Noam's mom,
Sarah.
couldn't we invite both sets over and have like a family gathering and have the conversation?
Well, if this goes as far as I hope it does, David definitely has to come over and meet with the congressman himself, right? So this is one of two.
Business trip. Next is a family trip.
Well, we can mix it. We always mix it. So, well, we can mix it the trip, but yeah, for sure. But this is one of 3 new things we're going to be doing in our ministry. So stay tuned. Listen, I don't know, like my ministry or our ministry these final days, if you just want to come here and you know learn something and maybe be a little bit entertained or whatever, I'm just not about that. You guys are not about that. I want to be hands-on, boots on the ground, and us having that attitude and that willingness to actually get involved in this whole thing, to take action. God's presenting these opportunities, these open doors to us. Like, because do you know what? David Bedeen for decades has been sending in camera crews. These guys are sticking their necks out into Gaza, into Ramallah, into Nablus. And they're undercover filming the schools in Gaza. They're somehow getting their hands on the textbooks that are being handed out at the United Nations schools. We all got copies of the textbooks, and it's like pictures of terrorists in there and glorifying them. The Palestinian Authority now has set up, and it's codified law. David has copies of the law, right, that says if you murder a Jew, you get a salary for life. And by the way, if the IDF kills you because you murdered a Jew, then your family gets a salary for life. Do you know where that money's coming from? Us. When you pay your taxes, we're paying for Jews to be murdered. Did you hear me? And do you know the most appalling thing about this? I've known this for years that David works on this stuff, right? And I'm busy with other things. It's not that I'm not concerned. And Pam and I monthly support his organization. We give a donation every month because I take it seriously. But I just thought, okay, I got my own stuff. He's got all these pastors here in America who are working with him. You know what he told us when we were there? This is why I'm getting riled up to get us involved. If you guys want to, you tell me. We already voted, so. But this is why I'm getting riled, because he did have a bunch of pastors who were involved, and they were going to present all this to the U.S. Congress. Every one of these pastors, you ready for this? And David doesn't make stuff up. This guy's 100% for real. Every one of these pastors got a phone call from the White House saying this is not in the national interest, back down. And every one of these pastors backed down. And I'm going to pledge to you guys right now, I'm not backing down. I don't care who calls me or what the... so anyways, that's one of... I'm getting way ahead of us here, but this is one project we're going to be discussing. Go ahead, Rex.
Was he armed?
Up on the Temple Mount, I'm sure.
I don't know. I'm just asking.
I'm sure he's concealing carrying. Yeah, you don't go up on the Temple Mount without a gun if you're IDF. Yeah, I couldn't take one up there, but yeah, good question. I'm sure he was. So, all right, back to me. Everybody good?
We are going to this balance. The balance. We are going to it, but we are exactly playing. And the most play, but they are not going to it. This is the balance. This is what we have. This sometimes the best solution for some problem is don't touch. This is a balance.
What we call the status quo. He's saying, look, there's a balance right now between the Jews and Muslims, and sometimes it's better just to leave things as they are. Oh my gosh, huge point of contention. But had to secure down the Temple Mount. I understand his thinking.
The situation to build here a temple, you know what's the meaning? Maybe the big war against all the Muslim world. It's possible. Even we have a disagreement with the Abu Dhabi. And my wife was there, the consul in Abu Dhabi.
Oh my God.
But for the Muslim, yeah.
He's saying build the temple and you have World War III, right?
Yeah, it's correct of agreement.
You're not. That's not going to pick up his voice.
You sign this agreement with the Jewish. with people that are not Muslim. They took our holy place. They took Al-Aqsa, the Jewish Al-Aqsa. When they come in here, the tourism that come from the I wore a skirt here. And I tell them, look like normal people, like you, like me, not like the tradition of the people from the Emirate. Because if the Muslim here will see them, then they will cry. They don't like it. They like the money. They don't like the peace agreement. So even we have peace agreement with Jordan, we have peace agreement with Abu Dhabi and Dubai, maybe in Saudi also. But it doesn't mean that in Palestine we will agree that this is a good peace agreement. No, this is bad.
Did you see a difference though when Trump was president, that things were kind of pushed back as far as Hamas and the...
Trump was a good president for us. Even a lot of problems around him, but for Israel States it was really good. But Trump cannot change nothing about the life in Jerusalem, especially in the Temple Mount. What is said about we have a plan to fix the problem between Israel and also about Jerusalem, because he didn't understand. Most of the people also in Israel don't understand what is the meaning of Temple Mount for the Muslims. For them, it's like more important than his wife. It's more important than his daughter.
Right.
He agreed to die. He agreed to be a martyr for them.
Is that what it's going to take to get a temple built? What are your thoughts?
That's a big question. Closing World War III, so that was cool. Very, very astute. So what Ami said is he said. So Mark was asking some great questions. You know, did Trump make a difference? Ami said that Trump was an excellent president for Israel. Okay, that Trump did some great stuff, but that Trump cannot change the Temple Mount. And again, his belief is it's going to take someone messianic, right? This opens the door for you know who, right? But he said that for Muslims, the Temple Mount is more important than their wife, than their daughter. They will die to protect the Temple Mount. How is there ever going to be a third temple on the Temple Mount if that's the situation? This guy would know, right? What's it going to take? It's going to take someone really crafty, like the world has never seen before. Okay, he's coming, but look, everything's all set up and prepped. Okay,
It's not going to. Okay, let's say that we're a power. We can be a temple. We're the power. Yeah. First of all, we are not sure. Most of the rabbis say that it's incorrect. Even we will build. We can destroy everything. We can destroy everything. You know what's the meaning? It's not if you have a power. If you're smart, if you will be here. What's the meaning? That the Israeli state will be in the world maybe 10 or 20 years from today until no one knows. A lot of people will die. Is it correct to do it? Right. No. Sometimes, am I religious? I'm really Orthodox, religious, pray every day, go to the synagogue every Saturday. I'm really religious. And even though I said, sometimes we conquer Jerusalem, we conquer the Temple Mount. It doesn't mean that we need to do everything. And some of our dream, let the Mashiach, when he will come to do, oh Jesus, never mind this.
Do you guys remember? I've taught you guys that's the number one sign of the Jewish Mashiach is that he builds the temple, rebuilds the temple. That's the number one indicator of the Jewish Mashiach.
So they're saying Mashiach will come first and then the temple.
Most Jews believe that. The Temple Institute is kind of pushing to, build it and he will come. Right. But most Jews, that's the belief is that it's Mashiach that will build the third temple. So, isn't it?
That's your thought.
Hey,
what I thought is the all the other don't understand.
Right.
That's good team. Hey man, you're Mr. Temple Mount. Yeah, we're listening to you. That's awesome. Good. I just want to say I think I have more hair than that in real life. There's something wrong with the video quality. I don't know. Man. Okay.
So do I.
Right. Then they'll miss it. Sorry to do that.
So this is the worst of all.
Okay. All right. So let's see. Nice picture of us up there. So there's me. There's all the guys, right? Nothing to talk about here. I mean, here's hold on one second. Dome, huh?
No, nothing at all.
Well, here's the Dome of the Rock back behind us, right? And again, this right behind this door is the foundation stone, Evan Hashdi. This is the Holy of Holies. This is where it was and will be again. Okay. Look at Ben, isn't he cute with his? Oh, do you guys see the hat? My twin brother bought this hat when we were Ben's age, 19 years old, Indiana Jones, and Aaron traveled around the world with this hat. He UPS'd it to us right before the trip. He said, please, just can you have Ben just pose with it just for one picture at Petra, where they did Raiders of the Lost Ark, the Last Crusade, right? Ben, to this day, has not taken that hat off. I think it's like stuck on his head, so he loves that hat. All right, let's see. Just a couple shots we took up there. So this is the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Ami got really excited when he saw this. He told Ben, he said, get some pictures and send these to me. I think we did already. But we kept seeing these military helicopters flying over the mosque. They were just doing training exercise. Do you remember a couple days later, we were driving like right along the Jordanian coast, and we kept seeing the fighter jets going over. A lot of activity, but there's been a lot of, rockets being fired. Even from Syria, from Lebanon, from Gaza. And then directly across from this is the Dome of the Rock. Anyone know what this little guy here is called? This little tiny dome here? Anybody remember? Boy, I know I've taught this to you guys. This is called the Dome of the Chain, and it's basically identical to the Dome of the Rock, just smaller scale, right? And in Muslim eschatology, that this will be the epicenter of Judgment Day. It's called the Dome of the Chain because there'll be a chain going across it, and you can only pass through into eternity if God finds you righteous. So it's very bizarre. This also happens to be probably precisely or pretty close to precisely where the altar has to stand. So that was the very first thing that the angel told King David, build me an altar, and this is where the altar will go when the time comes. But it's got this nice little placeholder now, the Dome of the Chain. So interesting, right? Okay.
Portico type area where they call it the center of the earth.
Yes, exactly.
If you
Say that again?
If you take from the temple walls all the way around and you crisscross through it, it's right dead center in the middle of the all the walls, and that they consider that the center of the earth. Center of the world.
And I looked, and I haven't found those pictures or videos yet. I'm not sure. I know Ben took video of it, so we're still getting our content organized from the trip. I worked Ben so hard on this trip, man. He did really good. We were for sure on the Temple Mount. This is just, like the updated version of it. So didn't have a guide back then. All right. The rest of the videos are real short. So just hang in there, everybody.
So they won't get anywhere near where we are. They're going to walk around the outer edge of the Temple Mount.
The east?
Yeah.
And then they're going the Golden Gate.
Yeah.
And the Golden Gate, they are praying to the east.
They're allowed to pray?
Yes.
I just read that like a week ago that they're starting to allow that.
Yes. They are praying. Without seeing
Things are changing, yeah. Falling down. I can see a new temple here soon.
Oh, yeah.
Just the fact that they come up here. I mean, most Orthodox will not even come on the temple.
We're in the days of Noah.
Yeah.
I'm not so.
We are in the days of Noah.
God can do wonderful things, though, right?
It's a good time. I think that the situation cannot change in one box. Right. Slowly. It will happen. I believe that it will happen. But I want that it will happen with agreement, not with a war, without blood.
Right.
This is what that the Muslim will say.
Everybody would like that.
The Muslim will say in the future, okay, you know what? You can pray. If you don't change the mosque, if you don't change nothing, you just want to pray, come, why not? We pray to the same God. All of us say, yes, God is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And the basis of all of our other religions is the same. Why not?
Come when the Muslims will say, look, if you don't hurt the mosque, if you let us do our thing up here, go ahead with the temple. That's amazing. That's what we talk about in here, right? It's exactly what's coming.
So this is a historic time.
We are not in situation, not yet.
Yeah, but this is a historic day that just within like the last week or so, I think, they've just started to kind of let the Jews kind of feel it. So they pray at the Golden Gate.
Yeah.
Sha'ar Rachamim.
Yes, they Rachamim, the Golden Gate.
Yeah, mercy gate.
And then they'll make a circle and get out from some of the gate.
And they won't get near the dome, but most Orthodox won't even come up on the Temple Mount. And we didn't see the sign down there, but there's a sign down there that there used to be that says that the chief rabbi of Israel says it's illegal.
There is. The sign's still there. I saw it.
Okay, yeah. Should have got a picture of it.
It's still there.
That Jews should not ascend the Temple Mount.
Yep.
So the fact that we're getting like hundreds or more Jews now coming up here, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Things are changing.
Yeah.
You're right. Change. Things are changing.
That's
This is
it.
why
Oh,
most of the religious
that's his
don't
plan.
come. They're afraid from the
It has to.
They stay at the retaining wall.
So they must have pure themselves.
The Temple Institute keeps numbers on this, and Rabbi Glick, we talked about him again later on. I'll show you guys some of the interview with him. But pretty much like every time the Temple Mount's open, he's leading groups up there. You know, I just saw him on Facebook today. I think it was yesterday, might have been the day before. But Rabbi Glick actually hosted the president of Kenya. He came here, so he's still got like huge connections, and the gentleman's wife. But anyways, Rabbi Glick is leading groups of Jews. The Temple Institute, like every month, they put out numbers, how many Jews have actually ascended the Temple Mount. Again, there's a sign down at the entrance. The chief rabbi of the nation of Israel declares that it is illegal to ascend the temple. He doesn't even just mean Jews. He says no one should ascend it because you run the risk of defiling the Holy of Holies. Well, here's what I would say myself, is that it's not the Holy of Holies right now because the Shekinah is not there, right? The Holy Spirit. But that's the, Jewish perspective. But nevertheless, over the last couple of decades, Jews have full Orthodox Jews, like not just like, tourists. These are real Jews, have been going up on the Temple Mount. They won't get anywhere near the Dome of the Rock. They don't want to take a chance. They just kind of circumnavigate the Temple Mount and then leave. But 6 years ago, that the scene that we just saw where he pointed and then Ben panned over there and you saw like the Jews and they're happy and they're smiling and there's a couple of police walking with them. Completely different scene 6 years ago. And I've got it on video and I have photos from no, not video because I couldn't take video, but I have photos from 6 years ago. 6 years ago, the Jews were very, very subdued, very, very, they're not smiling like these guys were. And they were surrounded not by Israeli police, but by Jordanian police, the Waqf. This time it's just the Israeli police. And the craziest thing, 6 years ago, if a Jew had tried to pray on the Temple Mount, and I've been teaching this for years, Jews are not allowed to pray on the Temple Mount. Turns out I was wrong. Like I watch the news all the time, and I guess that's not the case. 6 years ago it was. You show that you even like move your lips if you're a Jew, you go to jail, and then you're banned from the Temple Mount, right? That's happened to Rabbi Glick, many, many times. But let me show you the next clip, and this is we're wrapping up here pretty quick. Everybody stay tuned. So we actually caught up to this group of Jews who we just seen coming up here, and we had a conversation with them. So you ready?
Holy place. This is the place you can pray near the holiest place in the world.
And you guys are allowed to pray here now.
Yeah.
Because you weren't a couple weeks ago. It's new, right?
Because of the Ramadan, we weren't here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but I
they
know
didn't let Jews go to the mountain of the Ramadan.
But I just saw a gentleman walking back and forth. Are you allowed to pray here now? You?
No, I wasn't there.
And I told Ben to film him, but I think Ben was shy. Ben did such a good job, but I was like, Ben, film that. And he's like, no, I'm going to offend him, right? But there was a Jewish man sitting there with police around him, and he's rocking back and forth and full on praying. I couldn't believe my eyes, right? So that's what I'm like asking this other guy about. Go ahead, Carlos. Well, they still need a police escort. Not back in the old days, when the last times I've been up there, it was to arrest any Jew that showed any sign of moving their lips or anything, right? Now what it is, it's to protect the Jews because the Muslims who are up on the Temple Mount, Ami was talking about that. I know you couldn't really hear him, but he was saying, like he's full Orthodox Jew, he said, but he won't wear his kippah because he'll get attacked. They'll throw rocks at him. So the police now are there to protect the Jews. This is such a gigantic change. And what am I saying? That this is getting us closer and closer. So it's just one step at a time. Like Ami said, one step at a time. Now the Jews are up there. Now they're praying up there. I mean, are we headed in a direction of the temple actually being rebuilt? That feels like a big leap, but it's 100% the direction that we're headed. It's happening. So I'm quizzing this guy about this prayer thing. I'm thinking this has only been going on for a couple of weeks, but listen to what he says. Hello.
I say the prayer with the, I don't know how to say it in English. When 10 Jews are
Minyan.
Okay, yeah, exactly. We are doing a minyan, and I wanted the Chazan. Chazan said the tefillah, the praying, and we.
Last time I was here a few years ago, the Jews were not allowed to pray at all.
No. Last
like
week.
six years ago.
6 years ago. Yeah.
They weren't allowed to pray at all.
Yeah.
Wow, so that's a huge change.
5 years ago, they
started to kind of loosen up.
It's a huge, very huge.
Yes, it is. Yes,
wow,
it is. Amazing.
We are. Thank to God. This is.
I think
really amazing.
Thank you, Hashem. Baruch
Thank you,
Hashem.
Hashem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. God bless you, brother.
Yeah. Okay. God bless you.
Again, 6 years since he said, 6 years ago you could not pray. He said about 5 years ago is when it started to like, I got to go over there more often. Just thinking. He said about 5 years ago they just started to kind of relax the rules. I'm always watching the news on this stuff. I had not picked up on that anywhere, but the fact that today Jews are openly praying on the Temple Mount, again, gigantic. Elijah, do you have your hand up or?
Yeah, I was going to ask when.
Hey, do me a favor. When I pause the video, can you go back to camera on me?
Yeah, I can try to.
I just know it's on the live stream. Okay, yeah, thanks.
I was going to say, that's 2018. How does that line up with when the Abraham Accords were really getting moving?
Hello. I did not make that connection.
I think it was when we moved our thing over to Jerusalem.
The embassy, yeah, that too for sure.
That's
But
about that time.
it is the same time. Yeah, excellent connection, you guys. Yeah, I hadn't really given that thought, but 100%, you're right. So it was when President Trump was in office.
Elbow shoved
Right. So Trump really made a difference. Yeah, and don't forget too that, and we're going to talk about the Abraham Accords when we get back into our actual teaching stuff. Whenever, huh?
Abraham Accords was later.
Well, it was happening though. So
Just being birthed.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking at that time.
Right. So Avi Berkowitz was Jared Kushner's partner, or Bernstein Berkowitz. They were already negotiating with several Arab countries. The signatures were forthcoming, but yeah, we just see things changing, and that's not over. Okay, so Trump hasn't been in office for a couple years. We know, right? But I've told you guys this before, that the Biden administration, the only thing that they did not completely dismantle when Biden ended up in the White House. Okay, I don't want this video to get canceled. Anyways, right? Yeah, just me saying that. Gosh, yeah, YouTube, give me a break, huh? But the only thing that they didn't cancel was the Abraham Accords. They're fully pushing those forward 100%. They took full ownership of it. Jared Kushner, he's saying he's out of politics now, not involved in all that, no matter what happens from here. But he started the Abraham Accords Institute in Washington D.C. and he's pushing forward with these relations. Okay, so that's this, by the way. Does anybody know what this is behind us? This structure. Somebody throw me a bone here, huh?
That's the gates. I forget what side they are, but that's the ones where they blocked anybody.
Yes, very good. Gold star. So. Yes, and I've actually been inside this building completely against the law. The Muslim authorities inside chased me out fast. I was back in 2014, but filming it. Yeah, this is the Golden Gate, sealed off in 1541 when the Ottomans had just taken power. Suleiman the Magnificent, because this is the eastern gate of the Temple Mount. This is the gate that the Messiah will come through when he comes. And so they sealed it and then planted a cemetery in front of it, Muslim cemetery for good measure, because no Jewish Messiah would ever walk through a cemetery. No Jewish Messiah could ever get through a walled up gate. But this is the the eastern gate. It's called the Golden Gate today. It's Sha'ar Harakamim, the Mercy Gate. It's known as the Beautiful Gate. Yeah, very, very, very important. So, but so that's two things. So the first thing is, didn't see one WACF policeman, just all Israeli policemen. That's a gigantic change. And the second thing is Jews are praying on the Temple Mount. Okay. The third thing I'll just say for our next class, I just have a few more minutes on the Temple Mount, but we'll just use that to segue next class into the next topic. Do you remember the next thing after the Temple Mount? What we did like shortly after that? It's so funny. Speaking of Indiana Jones stuff, Zedekiah's Cave. Oh, we definitely got coffee after. Wait a minute. Okay. John, here, this is just for you, man. This is going to be my last picture of this segment. You know me so well. You know me so well. Well, you saw it on Facebook. So I'm not going to finish my Temple Mount content again. Israeli police in full control up there now. Jews praying up there now. Gigantic changes, and there's a third change that's very, very telling. Again, pointing toward a coming third temple. I'm going to save that for next class, so that's our cliffhanger. And then this picture will be a definite segue. You can't see it in the picture. You can't guess what I'm getting at. But this is a segue between the Temple Mount, and a couple hours later, we took a tour of Zedekiah's Cave. Does anyone remember what Zedekiah's Cave is? Thank you, Ernie. I almost forgot about that. Yeah, if you'd like to donate online. Elijah, do you remember how to put up the link for the online donations? Oh, yeah. Thank you, because I said the thing about donations. I forgot to pass a bucket. Yeah, I have to pay off this trip, so No, seriously, though, everyone who donated to this trip, it just paid off like you won't even believe. We're not even getting started yet. We're going to get into all this stuff. Okay, real quick, Zedekiah's Cave, also known as King Solomon's Quarries, or King Solomon's Mines. Isn't that cool? Yes. So you can't tell from the picture. These guys probably don't remember, but this is a perfect segue. We'll explain next week. So meantime, love you all. Thank you so much for coming. Who am I going to get here? You know what, Tom? Get up here. Yeah, come on up. I'm going to have Tom. Yeah, because Mark would like literally hit me over the head with something heavy if I told him to come here and pray. Just, close in prayer. Oh, yeah, you got to show off your shirt anyways. Like this, like I bought all this stuff, and this is like the one thing he bought in his
No trinkets.
Right.
Father, we thank you for tonight. We thank you for this trip. We thank you for all the folks that are come here to listen to it. May everybody be blessed. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
All right. Good job. Give him a hand, please. Yeah. Awesome. So, love you guys. Thank you for coming. I hope you come back in 2 weeks. Got a whole lot more to share with you about the trip. And again, focusing on the research that we accomplished. So come back in 2 weeks. Everybody online, thank you for watching. Love you guys. And in the meantime, what do I always say? Yes, thank you. Stay filled with the Holy Spirit in Jesus' name. All right. Good night. Love you.